I want to talk a little bit about cross-pollination. My girlfriend and I decided that this weekend, in just a couple days, we are going to go to Ithaca, New York, where I went to college. Not at Cornell, but at Ithaca College. Basically the same thing. I know for anyone who went to college with me, the first thing you think of when you think of my college experience is probably not pollination. And you're right. Cross-pollination when it comes to flowers is typically when a bee or something takes the pollen from one flower and then use it to pollinate a flower that's often of a different species of flower, type of flower. Cross-pollination as it applies to life and creativity is somewhat similar, though instead of pollen from one flower to another, you're taking life experience and skills from one life place to another life place. So here's my life in a nutshell. I grew up in Massachusetts, went to high school there, then I went to Ithaca, New York for college, and then I moved to Ohio where I took a manufacturing job in corporate communications. So when I lived in Massachusetts, I dabbled in theater, improvisation, I did music, I was in a high school band, and I also did videography in my own amateur films. When I went to college, I refined my video skills, making more fiction movies and documentaries, and also dabbled in creative writing. And then finally, the big change was when I moved to Ohio, which was completely outside of anything that I wanted to do. That sounded wrong, no offense to Ohio. What I mean is, moving to Ohio, I took a job in corporate communications and manufacturing when what I was studying for was to be a famous director in Hollywood, making comedies, dramas, what have you. The shift from making creative short films and learning about the creative process of filmmaking in college to moving into a manufacturing environment where I did corporate communications represented probably the biggest shift and probably the best example of cross-pollination, because I was able to take those skills that I developed in college and apply them to a completely different situation. So here we are in the Roy H. Park School of Communication. Even though it's Sunday and everything's closed, I can still feel the energy. We just spent a couple days in Ithaca. The weather kind of sucked, but I still did everything I could to relive my college experience. So I got to work on a variety of projects here. My hopes and dreams was that I could go to Los Angeles as soon as this was all done. What ended up actually happening was this other job came up where I could get an internship in corporate communications. That internship ended up turning into a full-time position, so I said, all right, I'll stay with a full-time position for a year. That year turned into 2 years, which has now turned into 7. And it's just because I found myself in a position that I never thought I'd find myself in, which was taking what I learned in school and applying it to a position that I didn't imagine myself being in. So that brings me to Ohio, where I'm here today. What I learned from being in the business world was about the products that we make. I learned more about how a business actually functions. I learned about business travel. I learned about the corporate environment. I learned about the HR process and recruiting people. What I brought to the table was my knowledge of storytelling and skills in managing a video project, which, as it turns out, directing a video project can be a lot like directing any other kind of project in the business world. Cross-pollination, as I mentioned, occurs when you take two unlike ideas and combine them. And in this case, it was a skill that I developed in a very unrelated industry for an unrelated purpose that I was actually able to apply to the business world. So that's it. That's my nugget of wisdom. I don't vlog often. Hopefully, it got you thinking about stuff. And so I'll leave you with a few interviews that I did around the office talking about where people came from and how their diverse backgrounds have helped with their own business and creativity.
Hi.
Hey.
Is this for your vlog?
It is.
Do I have to say anything? I don't look good on camera. No, I hate that.
What would college Felicia say to current Felicia?
College Felicia was so badass. Like, she was so outgoing. I wanted to be a reporter.
And you're not doing that now?
Slightly, but for a corporation.
So with your background then, what did you now bring to the role that you're in?
I think my curiosity. I definitely ask people a lot of questions, and I'm always interested in learning, and that goes hand in hand with being a reporter. I bring my curiosity, I bring obviously my writing background, and learning how to formalize a story, knowing what makes for good content in terms of quotes and what's deemed newsworthy, what people are interested in, all of those things. I think I contribute to my job.
Very low key. Felicia, stop that. Stop that.
I studied zoology biochemistry, which was a combined science degree. Organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry aren't actually that different, so it helps me with the technical side of understanding the products that we develop.
Addie, what do you think of when you think of cross-pollination?
Bees, they're dying.
That's not the purpose of this vlog.
Well, you said pollination.